with the pandemic, all concerts shut down for 2 years. The first concert I saw once things opened up again, I'm in Ottawa. I went to Montreal for Dream Theater, which is a band. You mixed an album back in 1999. So Metropolis Part Two, Scenes from a Memory. That's considered one of their best. It shows up on greatest guitar albums of all time. So you mixed the album, and in the end, they went with four of your mixes, and later on, they release an alternative mix album that had all your mixes, I believe. What was it like mixing that music? And with all the again, we're talking about all-time great musicians between Tool and Dream Theater. How do you find the right place in the mix for such complex instruments and parts?
Yeah, it's hard. They're all in that band. It's all very busy playing. So it's finding a way to panning is obviously one, tonal control is another. You have to carve out tonal differences between the sounds so that they can each speak when their moment is, and balance. You have a moment where something is more important, the other things take a back seat. You have to ride that constantly in a mix. Like, that's more important, this is more important, this is taking the feature, this tone is too big, now we have to thin that out for this sound to come through, that sort of thing. So they were great to work with. John, was Petrucci was kind of taking the lead at that time in the band. They were. I had a little mini battle with Mayung because there was a section of the song he wanted chorus on the bass, and I was never a big fan of chorus on the bass. I relented at one point, but they went with Kevin's mix. I think this was a time period when everybody was doing a lot of compression, a lot of limiting, making things very loud. I wasn't sort of so much into that. I wanted to breathe more, a little bit more dynamic. They wanted a more kind of upfront, harder hitting thing for Kevin's, and it's a great mix too. It's just a different take on the music. So I knew that they had released one with all of my mixes. I don't know what the sort of balance of opinion is on that, but.
So how is it decided if you're going to produce a project, engineer a project, mix a project? How is that decided? Some bands you do everything, some, I guess maybe they've already produced with someone else and then they just want your great mix. How is that decided?
It's usually what the people want. I mean, I don't generally engineer just engineer things anymore. Either I'll get hired as a producer or a mixer. So if they want, sometimes I'll just get hired as an executive producer to sort of listen to the demos or listen to the things and add sort of musical suggestions or sit in on rehearsal, help develop things, and then somebody else will take over. It's all dependent upon what the client wants. So if they want me to produce, then I can produce. If they want me to mix, I can mix. If they want me to do both, I can do both. If they want me to do just executive production, I can do that too. So it's just a matter of what the client wants, and when they seek you out, they have an idea for what they think your role will be, and they'll ask.
Is there a preference at all between the two? Like, in a perfect world, if you're going to work with a band, would you hope to produce and mix, or do you enjoy one versus the other, or are they just all skills that you offer that people are looking for?
I like variety, so I enjoy doing all of those jobs. And I like the fact that I do different versions of them. If I were just to be doing one thing all the time, I think I would get bored. Like, if I was just doing mixing for everybody all the time, as nice as it is, because I just come in, this is also my home, my studio, so I'm able to stay at home, do the mixing, go do something else. That's great. But I do like to get my hands dirty and dive into the trenches with a band with a full production. So, it's again, that often requires traveling or doing lots of things. So I like to have a balance of those two things.
So we have another quote sent in here. This is Glenn Milcham, the drummer from Blue Rodeo. So this is what he has to say. I've only worked with Dave on one project, which was with Ensign. Am I saying that right? Ensign Broderick, aka Jason Ensign.
Broderick.
Ensign Broderick, aka Jason Snyderman. He was super pleasant and chill, and easily one of the most fastidious producers I've worked with. I was particularly impressed with how he had each song mapped out bar by bar with notes on particular things he wanted to hear from each instrument. He was very efficient, yet patient and respectful to the musician, with no ego in spite of his impressive CV, a real gent and a consummate pro. Glenn Milcham, Blue Rodeo.
That's very nice of him to say. I just saw Blue Rodeo the other night. Went to go see them play in Hamilton, actually. Yeah. Oh, Glenn was great to work with. He was he mentioned it's like charting. I've sort of developed over the years that I learned. I started from Dan Lanois. He would have books and he would, take notes. And so I developed, sort of stole that technique of I always have notebooks. I've got a million of them laying around. And when I get the demos for a band, I will chart out the song, but I don't chart it out on musical notation paper. I can read, but only like remedial note reading. So I do essentially just little boxes, and the boxes have different shapes depending upon the time signature of the thing. And I've developed it over the last sort of 35 years to where now I can map out the whole song. I can take notes on the side, write chordal, progressions inside the boxes. It's just a way that I've developed that I can communicate music to me. So I can listen, I can look at the page, I know where I am, and I know what I want to have done at that point. So I can write notes. I can also use it to assess performances. So as I'm going down instrumentally, it's like the guitar is doing this. Okay, well, I've got some notes coming down, and I'll know when the whole thing's finished, because my memory's not so great, never really was. So I like to know from a visual standpoint, we've recorded this guitar part and it's all done. We're all there. If I don't, sometimes I've gone back early in my career, I would go back in a project and go, oh, we never recorded the second chorus with that guitar. What are we doing? This is the days before flying stuff around was so easy, right? So it's like you'd have to call them back in to play it again. This way, you know from a visual standpoint what jobs are done and what are not.